continuing looking at some of the perhaps lesser known names in the Bible and some of the things that we can learn from them. I'm going to look today at Acts chapter 16, starting in verse 13. And prior to that, Paul is on his second missionary journey. He has come to Philippi, and verse 13 tells us, "On the Sabbath day we went outside the gate to a riverside where we were supposing that there would be a place of prayer. And we sat down and began speaking to the women who had assembled. A woman named Lydia from the city of Thyatira, a seller of purple fabric, a worshiper of God, was listening, and the Lord opened her heart to respond to the things spoken by Paul. And when she and her household had been baptized, she urged us, saying, 'If you have judged me to be faithful to the Lord, come into my house and stay.' And she prevailed upon us." And Lydia is probably not someone who you're super familiar with unless you've done a lot of studying in the book of Acts. She's often called the first convert in Europe, or the first recorded convert in Europe. But I think when we look at that description of Lydia, and we see that although she didn't know Jesus at the time, she was a worshiper of God. So her focus, her heart, was that there was a God, the creator of all things, who deserved worship. And she was a worshiper of the true God. She just didn't know about Jesus yet. And then it says that she was listening. As Paul taught and spoke with the women gathered there, Lydia was listening. And that's one of the first steps that we need to take if we're going to grow in our own faith, if we're going to get to know Jesus better. We need to listen. We need to listen when we're being taught in church. We need to listen in our life groups. We need to listen, most importantly, to the voice of the Holy Spirit as we're in the scriptures and the Holy Spirit is speaking to us and teaching us. And then it says that the Lord opened her heart and she responded to the things spoken of by Paul. So she didn't just listen, but when she listened and she heard, she also responded. And then she went beyond just that initial step of responding to Jesus, and she immediately was baptized. She wanted to be obedient to Jesus' command to be baptized. And then she immediately began to serve. And she invited Paul and his traveling companions to come and stay at her house. So she prevailed upon them. So it wasn't just this polite invitation and she was hoping they would say no. She prevailed upon them to come. So I think we see from the example of Lydia, a woman who worshiped God, a woman who listened to his word and to his spirit, a woman who responded, a woman who was obedient, and then a woman who served. May Lydia's example be one that we follow today.